Um, we're easily just like watching it from our couches and stuff, and you see like some small country get like eighth place, and you're like, pathetic. But like the reality is like I would be winded after like my first four steps. We got a lot of ballers. We got a lot of ballers on this team. A lot of guys want to go for that three-peat. And unless teams show me that the Chiefs can be beat in those circumstances, I have no reason to think that we can't three-peat. What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chauran, and I know it's been a little while since I've been on, but there's been a lot of stuff going on with me personally in this last month and a half or so. The main thing being that I got a new job. So, yeah, it's been a lot. It'll be 2 weeks this Tuesday at my new job. And, it's been great. It's, uh, it's a company job now and making more money, which is always a good thing. Better experience, though, too. So, yeah, I'm excited with this new venture in my life. Uh, Career rise as well. I feel like it's a really big jump for me. So I'm excited. I'm also going to be doing down the line later this month, early September. I'll be doing some sports writing for the Baltimore Sun. I'll be a freelance writer. So, getting paid per story, but I'm going to be starting with high school sports, specifically high schools in Carroll County. So I am beyond excited for that because long term for me, sports is still the route I want to go. That at the end of the day, that's where I want to end up is in sports, and this is kind of the first step to that. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, because it's just freelance writing, I'm still able to have my full time job, my new job, which again, very excited about, very happy about. So yeah, just with all that, wrapping up with my old job, starting this new one, just the whole process with that. It's been a lot, so I haven't been able to dedicate a lot of time to this. But with the NFL coming back and that really being the main content that I do on this podcast, I definitely want to get back into it more consistently. I know I said last time when I was on here that I'll be doing on Spotify twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that I would be doing a little bit less on YouTube, like the video podcast content, instead of once a week, having it once every 2 weeks. I'm not going to give you a specific schedule because I feel like every time I do that, I never stick to it. So I'm just going to shut up when it comes to that. But I'm going to be more consistent than I have been, obviously, just because of the whole job thing, transition, and all that. It's been a lot. So now that that's kind of out of the way, I'm kind of getting in a groove now. I can come back to a more consistent schedule there. So I can promise you guys that. I'm recording this on a weekend. The Chiefs just played their first preseason game. I'm not going to talk about that first. I actually want to get to the Olympics, but before I do, just again, give you more of how I want to go about this going forward. I know the initial template I had with Spotify, I tackled a specific topic, which I'm going to continue to do. And with the YouTube stuff, it's just more, they're longer pieces of content where I cover multiple topics, like 2 to 3, just like today, I'll be talking about the Olympics, the Chiefs, and just kind of the overall scope I have going into this NFL season. But luckily with the NFL, there's so many storylines, so many different things to cover. So that's what I'm looking forward to, where I feel like I will be able to stick to that cadence, Tuesdays, Thursdays, being able to upload specific topics that I want to go over. And on those Wednesdays, I can really kind of give more of a general scope, and not get too specific. You know what I mean? So anyways, with all that being said, let's cover the Olympics real quick. So I just watched first off, the women, they just won the gold in basketball. They beat France. France has had it rough these past few days, losing both the men's and women's in the gold round for basketball. Suck. I'm a little conflicted because there's a little bit of my side that is French. My last name Chauran. Um, it's Chauran. Chauran. I don't know how to say it great in the French accent. I'm trying. Um, so a little bit of an identity issue there, where I'm like, oh, feel bad for France. It's kind of my piece, but at the end of the day, I bleed red, white, and blue, and so it was really cool to see that. It was great. I feel like when it comes specifically with this basketball team that's been assembled, an amazing roster, and you look at it from the standpoint that the three main guys you look at: LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. These are guys that are obviously tail end of their careers, still elite players, still elite ball scorers, ball handlers. They can put the ball in the basket. And you saw that all throughout this tournament. KD had his moments. LeBron had it. LeBron, I mean, he's going to be 40 in December, and this dude's playing like he's in his late 20s. It's insane. And then Steph Curry having the game that he had yesterday in the gold medal match against France. The dude was insane. Like I think he had 24 points, scored all of them were from three, scored 8 threes. He had 9 threes in the game before that against Serbia. I mean, the guy's just an elite play. He just knows how to score. I think LeBron won MVP of the tournament, if I remember correctly. I mean, again, guy who's 39 years old, and KD just balling out. I know there was a lot of controversy around the rotations that Steve Kerr played. Um, More so around like Jason Tatum not playing a lot of minutes. Tyrese Halliburton barely saw the floor. Anthony Edwards had spurts here and there. He had more PT than JT and Halliburton, but I see it more as I went into this expecting LeBron, Steph, and KD to have a lot of minutes, just because it's LeBron, KD, and Steph Curry. I mean, you're not going to have them be sitting on the bench. You're not going to have these young guys like an Anthony Edwards, like a Jason Tatum, like a Tyrese Halliburton, guys like that. Even though JT just won the freaking NBA championship, it's just different. And I'm not mad at that. Now, I like Jason Tatum a lot. He's an amazing player. I like the Celtics. Not my team. It's my dad's team. Um, but I was okay with it for the simple fact that we're on the world stage. These are the guys that have that type of experience. And look, I can't say definitively in a game like Serbia, down to the wire, we were down by double digits and ended up 94-91. If JT takes minutes away from, I don't know, maybe a Devin Booker, for example, do we come out still on top? I don't know. You don't know that. A guy like Devin Booker, you got to give him a lot of credit because this is a guy, that can average 25 to 27 points per game in a slate. All-star player for the Suns. And he got kind of pushed back to a 3-and-D role. Played it perfectly. He fit that role for this team because he knew he wasn't going to be the number one option. You got LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, guys like that are, are going to score. And even guys coming off the bench, like an Anthony Edwards, for example. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are going to want the ball, but you didn't want it to be like a 2004 outcome where you just threw a bunch of all-stars together and it just went to complete, what, right? So I respected Booker for being able to accept that role because he was a very pivotal piece in this. So you got to give him a lot of credit there. It was just great to watch. I, as an NBA player, not NBA player, imagine, an NBA fan, loved watching that. There's just something to be said. I mean, look, you have your rivalries in the NBA. Same thing as the NFL, baseball, right? Your domestic leagues, you have your beefs, okay? To see that all come together, for them to play together, to play for their country, There's just something to be said about that. There's something to be said about playing a high pick and roll between LeBron James and Steph Curry. Like, what? It probably never will happen in the NBA unless, some crazy trade is made and Steph and LeBron can play together for the last few years of their careers. I doubt that's going to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people felt this way with the Dream Team, right? You had Larry Bird and Magic Johnson playing together, and now tail end of their careers as well. But then you had a prime Michael Jordan playing with, you know, John Stockton, Patrick Ewing, guys like that, like players that hate each other in the NBA, but they put their differences aside, except for Isaiah Thomas. We're not going to get into that. Um, to fight for a common goal to win a gold medal for your country. There's just something to be said about that. Soccer, you see it all the time with the World Cup. Now that's more prominent in soccer because there's a lot of continental play, a lot of world play, not just in your leagues, but obviously every continent has their own stuff going on. So you know, we don't get to see that as much as Americans when it comes to our sports, like the NFL, like the NBA, like baseball. I mean, you have the World Baseball Classic, so it's more prominent with baseball. But football, I mean, I think they're going to try to start adding flag football to the mix. It's not the same, right? It's not your typical tackle football like we all know and love as NFL fans. Um, but that's okay. It's a start, and then having it with basketball, obviously with the Olympics. And we have FIBA. I know that. Um, and so it's cool just to see that. I feel like it's one of the very few times where us as Americans can really appreciate the homegrown athletes that we have, because you don't have that same appreciation when you're in the height of the NBA. You're a Laker fan, you're a Celtic fan, you're a Bulls fan. um these are the teams that you root for, so you got guys on the other side. If you were a Laker fan, you didn't appreciate Larry Bird like that. If you were a Knick fan, you didn't appreciate Michael Jordan like that. um if you were a Cavaliers fan, you didn't appreciate Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green like that, and vice versa. If you were a Warrior fan, you didn't appreciate LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, guys like that. Now, this can go on and on. But again, when it comes back to these Olympics, when it comes back to FIBA, when it comes back to games like that, tournaments like that, that's the one time when you can appreciate those types of players. And that's why I love the Olympics. I mean, I'm looking currently right now. This is the most updated list I see for the medals. We are tied with China in the golds. We got 40 golds. China has 40 golds, but we have the most total amount of medals of any other country at 126 total medals. 40 gold, 44 silver, 42 bronze. Let's freaking go, man. And then China, they're the second. They have 91. We are 35 medals clear of second place. And then of third place, the closest after that is Japan at 45. I mean, let's freaking go, man. Especially track and field. I've been watching a lot of that track and field. I saw we won 2 golds yesterday in the 4x400. First off, I'm out of breath watching these people. I mean, these are Olympians, right? They trained their entire lives to get here. Even the ones that finish in last, they are by miles so much better than anyone, right? And it's funny. I see a lot of like memes and stuff like that, or like I'll see on TikTok. Um, or easily just like watching it from our couches and stuff, and you see like some small country get like eighth place, and you're like, pathetic. But like the reality is like I would be winded after like my first 4 steps. So it's just crazy. It's just insane watching these human beings do the stuff that they do. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I've been loving the Olympics. It's been great to watch, and yeah, I like I said, I appreciate it from an American perspective. I appreciate it from a sports fan perspective to see all of these amazing athletes representing our country just kicking ass. You know what I mean? There's just something to be said about that, and it's awesome. Um, anyways, I want to talk about the Chiefs really quickly. I don't want to spend look preseason. You got to take it with a grain of salt, right? I feel like everyone is very quick to judge off of preseason. First off, the Chiefs, for example, starters only played the first drive. I didn't like the fact that Hollywood Brown already got hurt. He had a shoulder injury, same as Tyreek Hill had in like either 2018 or 2019. I can't remember, but presumably he's well for sure he's out the rest of preseason. He may come back week one, maybe not. Maybe he'll be ready for week two. Look, it happened in the preseason. I'm glad it happened in the preseason. That's fine. Um, just looking quickly, I have the stats right here. Patrick Mahomes, 3 of 4, 27 yards. Um, then Carson Wentz, presumably, who's going to be the backup, 4 for 4, 26 yards. Look, I'm not looking too into it. Pacheco had 2 carries for 16 yards. The longest was 16. So a bulk of those, all of those 16 yards were just from run. This Carson Steele kid, my dad's been telling me about him from UCLA. We may have him as a fullback. Now, I know the fullback position is kind of a lost position in the NFL now. We don't really use him anymore. But Andy Reid does like his fullbacks. He's an old school type of guy. So I could see us keeping a guy like him. He had 4 carries for 29 yards, longest of 20. Um, Deneric Prince, who presumably may be the number 2 guy behind Pacheco, possibly. We're not getting Jerry McCain back. We're not going to be doing any of that. I'm curious about this Lewis Reese Zammit kid. I've told you about him from New Zealand. The Zammit, damn it, like Mitch Holtis, you got to put that on the call. Now there may be some issues of profanity on the airwaves that you may have to deal with, but we can figure that out. Yeah, you just have to look at it with a grain of salt. You're not getting the full fledged Chiefs here. Okay, I've already seen some Chiefs fans like, oh my God, what's going on? How are we losing to the Jaguars 26-13? It's freaking preseason, bro. It's preseason. Relax. Now, from a fan perspective, that's how I look at it. Obviously, when it comes to players, this is their audition to make the NFL. This is their audition to, even if you don't make that team, other teams are watching. So let's say you get cut, but like another random team can come in and pick you up because they're like, we like what we saw on that tape. Come play with us. Maybe. You never know. But so these guys are taking that seriously. The third, fourth stringers, this is their shot to make the NFL. So from that perspective, obviously they're playing hard. But from a fan perspective, relax. Okay. Just looking at this Chiefs roster from an offensive perspective, leaps better than last season. You can't dispute, especially in the wide receiver market or wide receiver room. I mean, Rashee Rice, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson. I'm just thinking of receivers right now. I mean, look, we got Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross. I mean, that's 7 guys right there. Obviously, I don't know how many receivers Andy wants to keep. I don't know if he wants to keep 5, maybe. So 4, in my opinion, are definitely solidified with Rice, Brown, Worthy, Watson. Those 4 guys for sure. Do we keep a Justin Ross? Always reported in camp that he's having a great camp. But when it comes to the regular season, it's kind of a no-show. So I don't know. Do you try to keep riding him in terms of the potential that he has? I don't know. A guy like Sky Moore. Again, I really wanted him to pop off last season. He didn't. Season before, same thing. Kadarius Toney. We know what's been going on there. Do we keep him in as a gadget guy? Maybe not as like a wide receiver threat, but maybe taking snaps out of the backfield or just keep him for special teams. I don't know. I don't know how the Chiefs want to go about that. So there's a lot of questions with wide receivers in particular that we want to keep an eye on. Tight end room, solid. Travis Kelsey, Noah Gray, Irv Smith from the Bengals. Essentially, Irv Smith is like where we wanted Jordy Fortson to get. He never ended up getting there, mainly due to injury. But Irv Smith is like the finished product of what we wanted Jordy Fortson to be. So that's how we can look at that. And this Wiley kid from UCLA, I mean, do we keep 4 tight ends? I don't know. We only got 53 spots on the roster. How many running backs do we keep? Do we keep 2? And obviously 1 on the practice squad because I mean, you're kind of it's nice. You feel more comfortable having 3, right? The Deneric Prince kid, number 2. Still got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do we want to maybe have him as number 2 and have Deneric number 3, or maybe have Deneric on the practice squad? I don't know. It's interesting, right? So I don't know. There's a couple different ways that we could go about this, but I say all this to say we should feel fairly comfortable on the offensive side of the ball, and obviously on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I really like where we're at. I really do like where we're at. Look, the main guys that we lost, L'Jarius Sneed, that was a huge loss. But I think with the guys that we have on corners and the depth that we have, I feel very comfortable with that. Obviously, with McDuffie leading the helm with that, I feel very happy with where we're at on that side of the ball. Keeping Chris Jones, obviously, that was a huge thing that we needed to do. Our linebackers, I feel like our linebackers have been our sneaky wild card in terms of some of the better spots on our entire roster. Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil. I really like how Leo Chanel has been developing. That Cochran kid who came in when Nick was out, he filled in. He did all right. He was serviceable. Obviously, he did on deeper end of the roster there. I like where we're at. Willie Gay, I hated leaving him or losing him. But if you recall in the last podcast that I had um, with the Informed Idiots with Yvonne and Nate, Nate was talking about a lot how he's a great energy guy. He has spurts here and there, but if you look at his general production, it's not as much there as maybe you would have thought it was. And he had a point. So look, our main guys, we just have great leaders too. That's the thing. Chris Jones, I like how he's been taken under his wing. A guy like George Karlaftis or whatever, who I think he's going to have an amazing season. I really do. And then Nick Bolton, great leader there. All the plays going through him. That's Spagnuolo's guy. And I think coming back from injury, Brian Cook, he had a leg injury. I can't remember the exact injury, but he's now coming back off of injury. I feel good about him. I didn't even mention Justin Reed, absolute dog. Drew Tranquil, he's a good leader too, a veteran guy. And I think, McDuffie is just continuing to make strides and leaps in his development. I'm really happy with where the team is at right now. So relax. Okay? We're good. And look, I'm looking at the NFL from a general scope, right? Last year was the year to get us. It was. Leading the league in drops. Mahomes, statistically, a lot of career lows. Can really pinpoint that back to the wide receiver core, understandably so. But just how our defense was. I mean, I don't see our defense taking a step back. I don't. Do you? No. Charles Omenihu's coming back from injury. Charles Omenihu was an absolute beast for us before he got hurt. Absolute beast. So Mike Dana, let me tell you something. I like McDaniel a lot. He's a guy that doesn't get a lot of snaps, but when he does, he makes the most of them. And I definitely know the Chiefs have taken note of that. Having Mike Dana on this team as well has been huge for us. We got a lot of ballers. We got a lot of ballers on this team. A lot of guys want to go for that three-peat. You know, what's interesting about this particular Chiefs team, and also, this will be the last thing I say about the team before I kind of give a more general scope of the NFL. Um, there aren't a lot of teams that have the success that the Chiefs have had and have that continuous chip on their shoulder, like as if people don't think they can win. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just kind of been the narrative of this Chiefs team where, yes, we have the target on our back, but people still feel like they can beat us. And let's talk about just really quickly the 100, the top 100 players. Now, I preface this by saying I understand that this list came out or it was made in December. This was before the Chiefs went on the run, won the Super Bowl. Even then, Mahomes at number 4. Are you kidding me? Tyreek Hill, number 1. Look, I mean, he was a dog. At that point, he was on trajectory to get 2,000 yards. But Mahomes wasn't even the number 1 QB on that list. And the fact that he was number 4, this really rubs me the wrong way. I know it rubs him the wrong way, as it should. There were only 3 Chiefs players on that list as well. Now, all were top 10. Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones. But you couldn't get a guy like L'Jarius Sneed on there? Or a Trent McDuffie? You couldn't have guys like that? You could argue even Nick Bolton, one of the better linebackers in all of the NFL. Couldn't even do that? I don't know. I didn't like that. I thought we could have had at least 5 or 6 guys in the top 100. I'm not saying they had to be top 10, but I don't know. So I say all that to say there's plenty of motivation. We got Jim Harbaugh coming back into the conference, well, back into the NFL, first time in the AFC West. A lot of talk around that. Broncos, Raiders, haven't heard a lot about them. I mean, look, Sean Payton's still there. He got his boy Bo Nix. We'll see what happens there. But people are like, hey, here we go. You know, I just, and from a player perspective, how players look at other players in the league. Jamar Chase. That guy loves to talk. He loves to talk. Annoys the hell out of me. Talking about who the number 1 player is. I ain't gonna say his name. Say his name. Why? Why can't you say his name? Patrick Mahomes. Why? Because you're mad that he kept you from winning a Super Bowl potentially? Don't be mad. Don't be salty, bro. Come on. Have some, you know, have some grace. Be humble. Have some pride. You're just coming off as a little, you know what? That's how you're coming off, Jamar. Hell of a player. You're an amazing player, amazing wide receiver. But damn, you like to talk. You love to talk, actually. I didn't even talk about in that top 100 none of our offensive linemen. A Joe Tooney, a Creed Humphrey. You kidding me? Sorry, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let me talk about the NFL as a whole. Talk about the division a little bit. I don't see the Bills being as competitive as they have been in prior years. And I've talked about this already a little bit, but we're getting closer to it now. I feel like a lot of the talk is more on the NFC side, specifically the NFC North. Now, that is a division that I would be scared to be in. You got the Detroit Lions, who had the most successful season they've had in decades, making it all the way to the NFC Championship game. Should have won. Should have won that NFC Championship game. You got the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, their guy, just paid the bag. The Bears. The Bears with their man, Caleb Williams, who was throwing darts in his preseason game. Again, I know I preface it by saying preseason's preseason. Don't look into it. But he was throwing some freaking rockets out there. Good for him. Who's the other team? Minnesota. I mean, look, Kevin O'Connell, he knows how to coach. You know? Sam Darnold, we'll see what happens there. They got their boy JJ McCarthy, and obviously Justin Jefferson got paid the bag too. We'll see what happens there. You can't knock him out completely. That's going to be a hell of a dogfight. San Francisco, what's going to happen with them? Brandon Ayuk, a lot of stuff going on with a lot of wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. Maybe a little bit of drama going on with the Eagles between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, and that they don't really vibe. It's interesting. Very interesting. I mean, look, there's a lot of competitive fervor all around the league, but I know a lot of talk has been on the NFC side. Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, the entire NFC North. I'm trying to think what else. Washington may be competitive. Jaden Daniels, there may be some stuff going on there. I totally forgot Zach Ertz. I was watching their preseason game yesterday. I didn't even know Zach Ertz was on the team. I remember Austin Eckler was on the team. I wish the Chiefs got him. That would have been really dope. But they got some pieces, whole new coaching staff. It'll be interesting. I didn't even mention with the Eagles, freaking Saquon Barkley going there. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. NFC South. It's the NFC South. Tampa Bay, they're running it back with Baker Mayfield. They may be competitive a little bit. Saints, Carolina. Who's the other team I'm missing? Slipping my mind. That's okay. Nevertheless, not a very competitive or respected division. No shade. It's just the reality of the situation. But yeah, switching back over to the AFC side, though. I mean, look, AFC North is always competitive as well. There could be 3 teams from the AFC North that go in, and the one team that's out could probably be better than some of the other teams in the other divisions. Personally, I think the odd man out might be the Bengals. T. Higgins having issues there. I don't know, because with the Steelers, they always have a great defense, always competitive. Mike Tomlin does not have a losing record in his career as a Steelers head coach. Interesting situation with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I have a feeling Justin's going to win that job. I just do. Based off of, I feel bad with how things ended with Russell Wilson in Denver. I feel like he was kind of screwed over a little bit. But there's just something to be said about that talk about him as a personality, thinking that he's, top dog, he's hot shit. That doesn't go well with a lot of guys. It doesn't, especially when it comes to a young team. I haven't even talked about the New York Jets. I can't even say running it back with Aaron Rodgers because he played 4 snaps and his Achilles snapped, So interesting stuff going on there. A lot of stuff going on. Super excited. But all of that to say, you go back to the Chiefs. They're the most stable out of all of them. Other than maybe Baltimore. Baltimore, they always have it together for the most part. They do. And they just got Derrick Henry. Good for them. They lost a couple guys on the defensive side of the ball, including Patrick Queen, who went to the Ops, to the Steelers. It's crazy. But, we'll see how it goes. I feel comfortable. I feel very, very comfortable. I feel comfortable going against the Bengals. I feel comfortable going against the Bills. I feel comfortable going against the Ravens. I do. Maybe a little less comfortable, but still comfortable. I feel comfortable going against the entire AFC West. I feel comfortable going against Houston. Now, Houston looks good. Very, very good. But what I will say to that is our experience, in my opinion, trumps that. It does. CJ Stroud, hell of a rookie season. Let's see if he keeps it up. Because the issue that came with that was now pressure. Let's see how CJ does under the pressure now. Because no one was expecting him to have the season he did. Going into a team like the Texans that played absolutely horrible the season prior, I remember how mad I was that it took us overtime to beat them. I remember it was like 30-24, I think was the final score. And it took Jerick McKinnon rushing touchdown to win in overtime for us to win. That's how bad they were, because I was so mad that we had to go all the way to overtime to beat the Texans after the season that they were having. Just to give you some context. So, yeah, the experience with us, that gives me the comfort going against a team like the Texans. I haven't even talked about Miami. They're capped in my opinion, because Tua, again, great player, smart player, but they have a ceiling with him. I don't care how many gadgets you got around him. I know you got Tyreek Hill. I know you got Jalen Waddle. I know you got Mostert. I know you got OBJ just recently. I know you got Mike McDaniels, boy genius. But you got 2 QB. And at the end of the day, I personally think, and a lot of people think, that you're capped because of that. So, yeah, I just look around. Even the Jets too. I'm not scared of the Jets. I mean, look, they're going to have a great defense. We know that. Might even say a hellacious defense. But I got to see how it works with Aaron Rodgers. I do. And at the end of the day, with the coaching staff led by Robert Saleh, I mean, I don't have 100% trust in that either. I don't. And so that's just something that you always got to keep in mind. Those are really the main teams, in my opinion, that kind of come to the top of my head. I know I didn't really mention the Browns. I know I talked about the AFC North in general. The Browns, we'll see what happens there. They had a great season last season, but to get whooped the way that they did against Houston, I mean, is there something to be said for that? Is it more so it was just because Houston was just that good that season, or the Browns just flamed out? I don't know. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, kind of last minute thoughts, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. We got Patrick freaking Mahomes, bruh. We got Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. We got all that we need. We are a better team than we were last season, and we won it all last season. And we're going for the three-peat. Call me cocky, but I don't care. Until you can prove to me that we can be beat when it matters most, we're going to have a game where I'm just like, how the hell did we lose that game? It happens every season. It happens every season. Last year, it was against the Lions, week 1. I was like, what the hell? Now, Lions were a very formidable team, we found out last season, but we lost to the freaking Raiders Christmas Day, a game that I was at, like 20-14. It was a horrible game. A little bit concerning given how late in the season it was. But with the Chiefs, just happens. A couple seasons ago, we lost to the Colts, like 19-13. It was a horrible game. Colts were absolute dog water that season. Just it happens. So I'm going to, whenever we lose a game, because look, we're not going to go 17-0. We're not. But whenever we lose a game this season, I'm just going to go back to this video and just rewatch what I'm saying right now, because it'll happen. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to those games in January and February, We know how to perform. We know how to perform under the brightest lights, under the smallest microscope, on the biggest stage. We just do. And we've proven it time and time again. And unless you show me, unless teams show me that the Chiefs can be beat in those circumstances, I have no reason to think that we can't three-peat. I can't. You know, we can have some tough fights along the way, tough fights against Buffalo, against Baltimore, against Cincy. It's going to happen. It's going to be some tough divisional games. Absolutely. The Chargers always give us a fit. But at the end of the day, I feel comfy. I'm chilling. I'm realistic, but I can be confident at the same time. And I feel like that's just how Chiefs need to look at this season. And I'll leave it on this note. The Chiefs don't think that they can just waltz in and win it all. In terms of they're not comfortable. They want more. They're not like, we could win it. We'll probably win it. But if not, no. They don't think like that. Not with that guy 15 leading the helm. Not with Andy Reid leading it. He's going to test him every single day, every single practice, every single game. Because that's just how they're wired. And at the end of the day, that's what wins championships. And damn it, I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you very much. Thank you all for listening. And I will be back next time. Peace.